Hello, hi, and welcome again to the Terminal Podcast, where in the end, it's all about the numbers. Tonight, we continue this highwayman's return to the castle on the hill with another THS alum to answer a few questions. Please share your name and where you're calling from.
Joseph Chiappetta, and I'm still in New Jersey. I'm at work, so I'm in Lake Apacon, but I'm still in New Jersey.
You're here tonight to answer the William E. Brown Memorial Questionnaire as build up to the THS Class of 1995 30-year reunion on October 18. The event includes a 10:30 a.m. tour of our old stomping grounds by a student ambassador with coffee, juice, and Teaneck Bagels to start the day. Later that evening, from 6 to 10, there is a full dinner buffet and open bar at Napoli Restaurant in Fort Lee with music by our own DJ Chalice. There's more info, including discounted hotel info and how to pay for all this fun. Check the invite me link in the description for full details or find the THS group on the Facebook. Maybe it's on other social media apps. I have no idea. I'm old, hence the 30-year anniversary. You'd have to ask somebody else. But as a former winner of this prestigious, so prestigious, I can't even say it right, and random award, I'm here to ask someone else random questions. And after your answers, you may receive the same accolades that I did. Are you ready?
Yep.
Question one. Do you still think or say you're from New Jersey?
Yes.
Because you're in New Jersey
In
now.
New Jersey. So. But even when I was outside of New Jersey, so I've lived outside of New Jersey, and I've always said I'm from New Jersey or, from outside of New York City.
Okay. Question two. What was your favorite mall growing up?
Probably Garden State Plaza. I also had some love for Willowbrook. They had a really good arcade there, but
Hmm.
probably Garden State Plaza.
Okay. Follow-up question. When was the last time you went to a mall?
Yesterday. But to be fair, I just went to have dinner, so that's where the
Okay.
restaurant was.
All right. Question three. Have you ever used advanced math, pre-calculus, trigonometry, anything like that since high school?
Yes, but I'm also an engineer, so that's sort of the field I decided to go into. Now, also to be fair, I'm not, pulling out a pad of paper and a pencil and doing, calculus here. So it's, baked into models and, computers are actually doing the work. So it's baked into equations and models that I'm utilizing for work.
Okay. Question number four. What do you think of drivers from other states?
Oh, they're horrible. Yeah, pretty much no matter where I've gone, they either drive way too slow or don't know what directionals are. I don't even think they know that they come installed on cars. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yet another. Um, question five. Do you still have or wear any of the clothing you wore when in high school?
Have, yes. Where, not so much. So like I've held on to some things, like I've held on to my Letterman's jacket, my football jacket. I have my peer leadership stuff, so I have like my peer leadership sweatshirt, my peer leadership t-shirt. Um,
Mm,
Couple random things, like I'm sure I have some Teaneck athletic t-shirts floating around in my dresser drawers. I have a football jersey that I did bust out like in the last few years. I wore for like a flag football thing we did. Um,
okay.
Probably one of the things from high school I probably use the most is I still have a Teaneck High School Highwayman like beach towel, and
Oh, I didn't
being
even know we
that I
made
have to like
those.
swim that I had when I was on the swim team, I still have that because amazingly in a house with three daughters, like the number of times I go into my linen closet and it's empty, like the towels disappear. That thing gets busted out regularly just because it's like my backup I don't understand what happens. We own like 30 towels. They get washed weekly, but you know, they disappear. So
Hair needs to get dry.
I guess,
So
you know,
yeah.
I could use the same towel for like a month straight. But somehow, and God forbid I leave a towel in the bathroom, it disappears. So it's always like my hidden backup towel. So surprisingly gets used quite a bit.
Hmm. Question 6. Do you remember the black door and the white door?
I do. The weird thing is I didn't realize it existed until senior year. And it actually came up as a peer leadership discussion. And I was like, black door? What's the black door? Now, mind you, it's the door I used every single day from day one of school until I graduated. Because A, I lived on the other side of town. So, my mom would drive me to school and that's where she'd drop me off. And that's the
Hmm.
closest door to my locker. And then even once I could drive, like that was the side of the school you could park your car on. So
Mhm.
yeah, yes, I remember it. I didn't realize it existed until senior year. So
Any
I don't know whether
any
that's
thoughts about
a
oh, I was
bit
gonna say
or
any thoughts about its existence or is that it? Does it mean anything to you now looking back 30 years later?
I mean, the fact that I didn't realize it existed probably says something. Now, whether that was I didn't realize it existed because I was, you know, playing sports and playing football and was friends with quite a few people that would hang out at that door. I mean, I never had an issue using the door. So to me, I never saw it as an issue. The fact that it came up as a peer leadership discussion and that other people saw that as an issue, whether or not they were allowed to use that door or whether they were going to have problems using that door was a little concerning to me. And I had heard, the podcast you had done with Jarrett, where, Dr. de Blasio there explained the history, and I never knew why that was the black door. It just was, the black door. So, in one way, I think it was great because I had no clue, and I did have a little concern as a senior looking back on that when other people were apprehensive about utilizing the door. So,
Question number 7. Who did you have a crush on that never knew?
but never knew. There's the tricky part because I was like the idiot that would just blurt, would ask somebody out in the most awkward, ill-planned, you know,
Mm.
crash of an attempt.
Oh, I'm not gonna have you relive high school memories on that side. It's the never knew.
But
It's
never knew is
I'm
always, like I said, it's a tricky part. I
well,
mean,
I mean,
I
if you
crushed
don't
on
have
a
any,
bunch of probably
I
I
mean, if you don't have any though, it sounds like you approach those
I
that
did
you
approach, whether it was a smart move or not was, it was up for debate. But probably Lauren Olowski. I had a pretty big crush on her, but we were friends. Our families were friends. I did swim team with her. We worked together at the swim club. So I never really acted on it because I always thought, if she said no, it would be incredibly awkward. And even if we did end up going out and it didn't work out, it would be incredibly awkward. So I think that's the answer, you know.
okay. Question number 8. Since we've graduated, how far have you physically traveled from THS, from Teaneck High School as the center point? How far have you gone from there?
Want to say probably Hawaii, but I've also been all over South America, so potentially like
So,
Argentina or the southern part of Chile is also probably, I'm
yeah,
not sure which one's quite far further, but that's probably what it is. It's probably,
the southern part of Chile. Like,
yeah.
okay. Argentina as well? Any other South American countries you'd like to throw into the list?
No, I mean those are the furthest south. I mean I've
Mm,
covered quite a few along there, but those are probably the
okay.
just not sure if they're further than Hawaii. That's all.
Fair, fair. Question number 9. What do you remember the science classrooms looking like?
Well, it depends. So the biology classrooms tended to have sort of like a, normal classroom in the front with like lab tables in the back. And then sort of the chemistry ones were, um, pretty much you just sat at the lab tables, which were like these big black tables that had like sinks built into them and the gas ports for the Bunsen burners and you know various chemicals and glassware stored in cabinets around it.
Have you been in a high school or middle school science classroom recently?
Yes, when I go do back to school night for my daughters.
How similar do they look now?
Some of them have been updated. But yeah, a lot of them were more of the classroom in the front with lab tables in the back, and usually the lab tables are now broken up more than just being these giant long. I remember the chemistry lab in the chemistry classroom in the high school being basically there was like two giant tables, that ran
Mm,
the length of the table, of length of the classroom, and you sat on both sides of the table, and that was it. Like you did class there, you did your lab there. So,
mhm. Uh, and question 10, what do you remember most from your life before graduation? Is there, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be one moment, but what sort of stands out is this is my mindset before I left high school.
I mean, it's probably sports. I have to say, probably a pretty fond memory is, obviously is, playing football and doing the various sports. You know, Senior year beating Paramus Catholic was a big one. I think that was the first time we had done it in at least the 4 years I was there. Um, that and sort of, well, as much as I enjoyed football, swimming was like my first sporting love. Like I had tried all those other sports and I was horrible at like soccer and not great at baseball. Well, not good at baseball. Um, but yeah, I mean, swimming was fun. And then Teaneck was interesting because we had a group of three or four exceptional swimmers so that we had this relay race and we'd get this group together and we'd have so much fun just because we were so much better than the other teams so that we would just joke around to the point where we got in trouble with the coach. But like I remember we came out one time and like we came out in women's bathing suits. Um, just had a blast. And then swimming was also like a summer club sport, and that was also a blast, usually with the same people that the high school team had or similar people. Um, and the summer one was even, was completely over the top. Like, show up in like board shorts and like Hawaiian shirts and would race and inflatable like the arm floaties, crazy hats, just having a blast and just being a part of that was so much fun.
All right. You have reached the end and shall receive the same accolades as this former winner. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As always, the Terminal Podcast ends with a trivia question. You mentioned football. The New York Times archives include an inside page from the November 28, 1958 edition that says how Teaneck, quote, how Teaneck High completed the first unbeaten and untied football season in its 27-year history today by edging Hackensack 7-0. That was, for whatever reason, New York Times archives. The generic THS football history search on Google produces a story about the 2021 team with a picture from the annual Thanksgiving rivalry game against the bitter Cross River rivals from Hackensack. NJ.com says that THS and Hackensack, they've played before Thanksgiving Day, Turkey Day since 1931. Now, I don't know how well you remember those games. I was not a player. You, as a player, probably know it a lot more different. And I it's just a different mindset. I was gonna say than I had just wondering if I had enough layers to venturing out in the cold Jersey November. Just cold. That's all I remember it. During our time, it wasn't worth going since Greg Toll with Hackensack coached the Comets from 1990 to 96, and he was 8-0 against us, including a 32 to 8 win in the 1996 North One Group 4 state final at Giant Stadium. Uh, last November, this last November, in rain and mud for the 90th meeting, Hackensack won again, 14 to 7. So the number I'm looking for is how many wins does Hackensack have over our alma mater on Thanksgiving? This
80.
is 80. If you're interested, going down this rabbit hole led me to a grainy video posted in 2021. It's titled 1994 Hackensack versus Teaneck. I'll add the link in the description as well as the trivia answer for this, but it's going to be a loss because Coach Dennis Heck couldn't get us over the hump. Um, but that's just what it is. So you can see that and the answer to this trivia question in the description. So thank you for listening to the latest W.E. Brown questionnaire. Once again, this is a promotional tool for the THS class of 1995 30th reunion on October 18. Events include a return to the Castle on the Hill, discounted hotel rooms, a full dinner buffet, and open bar, along with fellow Highwayman DJ Chalice on the Wheels of Steel. Check the invite me link in the description for full details, and I'll be back soon enough with hopefully something better to put down. Mr. Chiappetta, thank you very much. Take it easy down your life's highway and have a good evening.